Today we'll be talking about when your end-to-end workflow messes up without you noticing. So everything looks fine, right? Workflow ran, no errors, all green. But here's the thing, the data it produced is completely wrong. And the worrying part is, you won't even notice until you accidentally see the inconsistencies on your data. And if you're running workflows for clients, this is the one that gets you in trouble. Here's the thing about end-to-end. They only know two states. Either something broke and it throws an error, or everything went fine and you get a green check mark. There really is no middle ground. There's no, hey, this ran, but the output doesn't make sense. It just runs and moves on. Now everybody shows the solution where you have an error handler, there's a repeat and retry. Now in this type of scenario, that doesn't really help. Now with regular automations, this is manageable. But the moment you throw an AI agent into the mix, this becomes a real problem because AI can return something that looks completely valid, correct format, correct structure, but the actual content completely made up. And that's exactly what we're about to replicate. So here's our scenario. We're consuming data from a third-party API. Ideally, the providers of the API would version their changes and notify their customers. But let's be honest, that doesn't always happen. What actually happens is you wake up one day and your workflow is producing data that looks fine, but it really isn't. You get missing keys or new keys you've never seen before, and zero indication anything went wrong. So I've mocked that exact situation here. I am consuming an API which is represented by a code node that shows two recipes coming in. As an additional context, I expect the usual fields, which are a reference ID, a name, a source URL, and a dump of its ingredients and instructions in a raw form text. Now in this example, one has an extra field called extra notes with real content. The second one does not have that field. I also removed one key from that object, let's say raw instructions. Both go through an AI agent that's supposed to clean and structure the data. Watch what happens. Green. Everything passed. But look at this. The first recipe, the one that has extra notes, did not show up in the end. On the second recipe, you'll notice that the model hallucinated and made up its own recipe instructions. Even though one, there's no raw instructions. Second, there's not even a URL for it to browse. That's a silent failure. The workflow did its job as far as end-to-end is concerned, but your data is completely wrong. My fix is actually pretty straightforward once you understand the problem. What we want to do is to take a snapshot of the data before it hits the AI agent. Then, check that snapshot after the AI agent is done. Let's add the code node before the agent. What this does is look at every item coming in and record which keys actually had real values. Not null, not empty, basically actual content. And anything that isn't part of our expected data structure, we're going to park that separately in a meta field. Because sometimes APIs add extra stuff we weren't expecting, and we don't want to just throw that away. So now, every item going into the agent carries a little record of what it looked like before. Now after the agent node, what we want to do are to mark the records that has issues and not to completely stop the workflow if there are any errors. So what we'll do is to check every object and mark them accordingly. Now when we run this, we'll get a list of objects that has an issue. The AI agent will still generate instructions even when the raw instructions is missing. And that's fine. We're not going to fight it. The validation layer already caught the problem and flagged it. The notification tells you exactly what's wrong and which item to investigate. You fix it at the source, then reprocess. The moment you start trying to make the AI aware of every edge case, you're in a losing match. The better investment is a reliable flag and notify system, so nothing slips through silently. We can then send a notification. As an example, we can use Telegram for notification, or maybe Slack or Discord, whatever you want. And then we'll deal with that accordingly, either by going straight to our database or send it as another post request to another API. This is by no means an exhaustive solution, but the idea is for you to be notified of an issue. In a real workflow, processing hundreds or maybe thousands of rows in a day, a silent failure means bad data in your database that you won't notice until something downstream breaks. So, hopefully you learned something new today.